friends, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. These are also called angle relationships. So today we're going to talk about how to identify those and then what they add up to and what do they equal. I'll give you some more information about that. So the first thing I want you to do is write down these two things. When we are determining angle relationship, we're deciding two things. Is it alternate or consecutive side of the transversal, or is it on the is it on the interior or exterior of the two parallel lines? Now, alternate means opposite sides. Consecutive means same side. Sometimes those words get a little bit mixed up, but consecutive means the same thing as same side. Interior and exterior means the same thing as it does just in regular day talk, which is to say that inside or outside. So let's talk about how this applies. Now, there's going to be some rules to it. We'll talk about those in a moment, but let's first identify angle relationships. So, okay, let's talk about this guy right here. Let's say that I have these two angles and I mark these guys right here. These two angles. Okay, we first want to decide, let me get all this in the camera here so you can see everything. All right, we first want to decide, are they on the alternate or same side of the transversal? Well, here are our two parallel lines, and we know this because we are told they are parallel. In geometry, never assume anything. That will pay off when you hit geometry in a few years. Never assume anything. So we know that these two lines are parallel. This guy is our transversal. And a lot of times teachers will try and trick you and they'll have two transversals on there like this, something like that, things like that. So you got to be really careful to identify what's the parallel lines and what is the transversal. Okay, so we look at this thing and we see our transversal here and we have to decide, is it the alternate or same side? This is alternate sides. So these guys are alternate. And then we have to determine, is it interior or exterior? And these guys are on the outside of the parallel line, so it's alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles. Let's try another one. And you may want to pause and write down examples of each of these because I think that will be helpful. All right, so here we have, these guys are on alternate sides of our transversal, you know, one on either side, and they're on the inside, so they're interior. So alternate interior angles, alternate interior angles. All right, now these guys would be on the same side, so they are consecutive, and they are on the exterior, they're on the outside, so exterior. So these guys would be consecutive, exterior. For consecutive interior, you can have something like this, or you can have these two angles over here. All these have double, you can do them two different ways. So these guys are our consecutive exterior, right? They're consecutive interior. Let me fix that for you. So these guys are on the same side of the transversal, aka consecutive, and they are inside the lines. So just a quick refresh on this. These guys would be alternate exterior. These guys would be alternate or these guys would be consecutive exterior. Alternate interior would look like that. These guys would be consecutive interior. Okay, so watch out. Here's what we do. There is, oh, and so let's talk about that, how that works with what that means for the angles and their relationships, okay? So, and for their measurements. So the best way that I have found to remember these guys is if it is on the same side, it is supplementary. You see same side, supplementary. And supplementary is just two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So if they're on the same side, so let's say we've got this guy and this guy. Those are on the same side. Those are going to add up to 180 degrees. What about the alternate? Alternate exterior like this. These are not on the same side, so they're alternate. And alternate angles are going to be congruent. So alternate interior, alternate exterior, those are going to be congruent. If you haven't seen it yet, that's the shorthand for congruent. It's just an equal sign with a little wavy thing on top. Okay, so that's those ones. There is another angle that is special, and you have to watch out for. We're going to talk about corresponding angles. So if your lines are parallel, your corresponding angles are always going to be congruent. So let's identify what corresponding angles look like. We come back up here. Let's say you have this and this. Well, if I'm trying to determine the angle relationship, the first thing I notice is I have one inside and one outside. So they're not interior or exterior. That means they're probably corresponding angles. And the corresponding angles, you got to kind of think of it like this. If you pick up this blue dot right here and you place it on this blue dot right here, you would see that those two purple dots would land right on top of each other. Those are called corresponding. Don't get that confused with consecutive. Corresponding angles. One inside, one outside, and they would land on top of each other if we placed them on top of each other. So even though these guys are on the same side, these ones are the exception. They are congruent because they're the same. You can usually identify it too because you see this is a little bit and this is a little bit, right? So they look similar. You're not assuming it, but they look similar, so that can kind of give you a hint. Okay, so let's talk about what that means for their numbers. All right, so let's see for this guy right here. Okay, so let's look at these guys here. We have these angles are first we want to establish the angle relationship. So we know that they are on the alternate side of the transversal and they are exterior. So these are alternate exterior angles. Alternate means that they're going to be congruent. So x here is going to equal 47 degrees because it's congruent. And remember, congruent just means exactly the same. So x and 47 are congruent because they're on alternate sides. Let's look at this one. 105 and x. These guys are on alternate sides of the transversal, and they are interior. So alternate interior. Alternate interior angles. Use a little bit of abbreviation there. Mathematicians like to do that. Remember, when they're on alternate sides, these guys are going to be congruent. So this is 105. This is also going to be 105. All right, let's take a look at this one. These guys are on the same side. And remember, same side is supplementary. So these guys are same side. We also call that consecutive. Consecutive interior because they're on the inside. And these are supplementary. What that means is they add up to 180. So we have x plus 62 equals 180. So figure out what x is by minusing 62 from both sides. And we end up with x equals 118 degrees. 118 degrees. So this guy right in here is 118. And you can kind of see that because see how 62 is smaller than 90 degrees? And then this guy is a bigger bite and that's larger than 90 degrees. So that's how you can say, okay, I think those are going to be supplementary and definitely not congruent. Okay, so let's talk about these ones. Again, consecutive because they're on the same side. So consecutive. And they are exterior this time. And they're on the same side. So same side is supplementary. So once again, we have 105 plus x equals 180. All right, to figure out what x is, we're going to minus 105 from both sides. When we do that, we get x equals 75. So this guy right here, 75 degrees. 75 and 105 will give us 180. Now remember I said, watch out for corresponding angles. That's this thing right here. So we look at this and we're like, wait, one is inside and one is outside. That's usually a red flag. These guys might be corresponding angles. Again, if you envision putting this guy, so let's pick up this little blue spot right here and we put it down right there. The x and the 117 are going to land right on top of each other, which means that they are congruent, exactly the same. So this x is also 117 degrees, even though they're on the same side. Hopefully that helps. We'll see you next time.